Hey, what up everyone? I'm Sinnycool and this is Everquest Project 1999. And today we are on the green server, but we're going to be talking about EverQuest more in general. Project 1999. I play on the green server. I'm mostly talking about Project 1999, but you could, this is one of those videos that could apply to many different kinds of EverQuest or whatever you want to say. I wanted to make one of these videos again. I did some of these in the past where it's not just me playing the game, it's me giving my opinion on things. Like, what was the one? The best starting class in the game. I think that's my biggest ever EverQuest video. I get some negative comments on that these days, but we're going to go over that right now. Like, this is my opinions, right? This is me just with my experiences. This is not like some expert. I'm not like an expert in every single class. I don't know everything. I haven't played level 60 on every single class. I'm not ever claiming to be an expert. This is just going to be my opinion. I can give you my credentials beforehand, which some people will be okay with the credentials. Some people will think it's slightly impressive. Some people will think I have way more credentials than this guy. I know way more than this guy. He doesn't know anything. And if that's the case, just use it as entertainment. You don't have to, like, none of this is fact or, like, it's just my opinion as me with my experiences. So as you can see here, I have a 60 necromancer, P99 EQ, mostly soloed my way all the way there, duoed a little bit. I got my 54 shaman, more grouping, more duoing, but a lot of soloing as well. So this video is going to be about what is the best solo class in the entire game. Just to get it up here in the first 2 minutes, didn't want to leave you hanging there. But yeah, what's the best solo class in the entire game for EverQuest? And I'm going to rank them. I'm going to do the top 5 or something like that. We'll talk about all the classes, but we'll rank like top 5 for sure. Is what the goal is of this video. What are the top 5 solo classes in EverQuest, especially P99, especially like green server type of stuff, but it can apply to many other things. I got a 54 shaman, I got a level 60 necro, and I'm now currently working on an enchanter. So we're talking about solo classes. I think I'm picking some of the better ones. We tried some other things along the way. Got a bard. We did our starting A series where I tried a few, but getting to level 5 doesn't really do anything for this video here, but just to show that stuff. I think the main credentials I have are a 60 necro, a 54 shaman, and I'm currently playing an enchanter. And then the other ones which you can't verify or see these days are that I played back in the day, back on live, back when it was, what we're emulating now. I actually played when it was, popular back in the day, 1999, 2000, whatever it was. And I played a warrior, a level 60 warrior, troll warrior. His name was Rhino Gorefest. Maybe there's one person out there that remembers me. Probably not. But Rhino Gorefest back in the day. I can't even remember what server I was on or anything. But did that. I had a 50-something enchanter, but I'm not saying I was a good enchanter. I wasn't a soloing enchanter. I was more of a grouping enchanter back then, so my enchanter knowledge is going to be mostly grouping, and then these days up to 16 soloing a little bit more. And then other than that, I kind of played like a monk back in the day. I've played a Shadow Knight to max level on EverQuest Online Adventures. I played WoW. I had a max level priest that was raiding and going to like the tier 2 armor in Blackwing Lair and stuff like that. And I had a shaman on there as well that got to almost max level. Maybe I was pretty close. I think I was like 55 or somewhere around there. But I was doing kind of like a off-brand shaman that was kind of just a little pet project that never really turned out, doing like totems and stuff with a pet. So didn't really work out, but I tried it. And other than that, I've played Diablo 1, beat that a million times. Diablo 2, beat that. Diablo 3, played that a little bit. I don't know if that correlates to this, but I played Neverwinter. But anyway, let's get into this. Not trying to drag it out. What is the best solo class in the game? According to me, based on my experiences and my opinion. So this is definitely not fact that somebody can dispute. It's just my opinion. All right, so what I would say is the best. Let's go to like something that I can, like this guy here. I can delete, and we can look at Because I don't think I have any other slots. I got my wizard, I got my enchanter, got my bard, I got my cleric, I got my shaman, I got my necro, I got my SK. I want to keep all of those. Let's delete this guy. He's nothing. Sinnycool. And we'll talk about all the classes. But we'll start with number one. What do I think is the number one class in the game? What can we do here? Let's be like a dark elf. It's not gonna. What catches like the most? Human? Well, dark elf is pretty close. I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, so the number one, what I think, and I've read stuff. This isn't just based on me playing the game or my experiences or my opinion. I've also read things about and watched videos about. So I have more than just my own personal experiences. I've also read about this topic and watched videos about this topic. I'm a little bit more informed than just my own gameplay too. So I think the number one in the game is Enchanter, the Enchanter. So let's actually, hold on a sec. Can I go back? Let's just look at my Enchanter. So I think Enchanter is the best solo class in the entire game. Maybe you thought I was going to say Necro. Maybe you thought I was going to say Shaman. But I think Enchanter takes the cake as the best soloer in the entire game. And that has to do with being able to charm, being able to soothe. And I'm probably going to miss a bunch of stuff that they can do because I'm only level 16. But I've watched other people soloing in crazy places like Shardock or the Plane of Hate on Enchanters, Howling Stones. I don't think anybody's going to really disagree with me that overall I think Enchanter is the best solo class. So if that's what you're looking for, you come to this video to see what's the best solo class. I think that's your answer. It's Enchanter. And what's cool about Enchanter is you can also you're very desirable in a group. You're very desirable in like guilds and raids and stuff. Maybe not to participate in the actual killing of the raid, but they want you there. They want you in the guild. People want you in the group. Maybe you do participate in the raid. I don't know. I've never raided as an enchanter, but the best solo class in the game is probably Enchanter. Just the way that they move through a dungeon, they can get deep into a dungeon to a certain camp and like just take control of that camp. They can solo like nobody's business, like nobody else. The illusions that they have, the just the lull and the soothe to work their way through certain situations, to be able to mesmerize. They have rune to absorb some damage. They can take control of the AI, like the the enemies in dungeons who are way stronger than any pet will ever be, and then they can give them quickness. They can slow down the enemy. They can keep other things locked down. They can pull one at a time by lulling and soothing and stuff. They got theft of thought where they can steal like the mana if they need it. There's so many things that they can do that's just crazy. The enemies in this game are programmed and built to be super strong to where you need multiple people to kill like one enemy a lot of the times, unless you're a very specific class that can solo really well, right? So the enemies in this game inside of dungeons or anywhere are way more powerful than your character, way more powerful than your pet, like a mage pet or a necro pet. They're so much more powerful. So being able to take those things over and make them your pet and then have them fight something else that's it's going to be way stronger. Like you're using something that's already something that you're not supposed to be able to solo really, right? The enemies in this game are supposed to be taken on by a group of people, like one at a time really. When you're in a group and you're deep in a dungeon, you're most of the time you're fighting one thing at a time, and if you make the wrong move, that one thing could kill you or cause you some difficult times at least. So these enemies are super strong, and then as an enchanter, you can move through a dungeon without dying and go anywhere you want pretty much, and then take control of one of these mobs that are so strong that you need a whole group to take them down. Like maybe I'm exaggerating slightly there, but they're stronger than your regular pet is what I'm trying to say, like way stronger. You give them a weapon, you give them quickness, you slow down the enemy, and bang, they're just so strong now. And then you can like have them fight each other and then kill them both at the same time and get the experience. Or you can like send a mob into a group of other mobs just to get rid of it. There's so many ways that you can do this. It's crazy. Like your mind, it's so fun because there's so many different ways you can handle so many different situations as an enchanter that they're just super strong. They're the best solo class in the game. And yeah, I think I've said enough about the Enchanter. Number 2, what do you think number 2 would be as the best solo class in the entire game? Um, I think it's either Necro or Shaman. So we got the Shaman here, we got the Necro here. And between the two of them, what is the best solo class, second best solo class in the entire game? I think a lot of people would say Shaman, but the problem with that is that you gotta have a ton of plat, you gotta have a ton of good gear, you gotta buy very expensive spells. In my experience, the difference between my Shaman and my Necro, it felt like my Necro was, I don't know, it's just like way safer, and it was way easier to solo. And then with the Shaman, it felt like there's potential, but I'm not tapping the potential yet. I don't have the right spells, I don't have the right gear, I don't have the right clickies. So I don't know if I'm like was recommending to somebody like their first class, and I want to recommend the best solo class for them. I don't know if I'd recommend Shaman, right? So that's why I'm not giving it number 1. Then we got to consider, is it number 2 now? Is it the best solo? Is it the second best solo class in the entire game, or is it Necro? Is it Necro? Because Necro, I feel, could do some pretty good solo work completely naked, and I don't know if a Shaman could do the same kind of solo work completely naked. I've heard Shaman are maybe the best soloers against single target mobs in the entire game. Like if you want to fight a cliff golem, or if you can get something by itself that's super strong, like Shaman's the one you want to take it out one-on-one. But Enchanters are like the best overall. Shaman are like the best one-on-one. And then like maybe Necro's the safest. And, you know, because you can feign death. You can do all kinds of stuff to get out of danger. But I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like Necromancer is the second best soloer in the game. But that's probably a biased opinion. And it could even be Bard, you know. It might even be Bard. I think Bard's up there as one of the best solo classes in the game. But I think it's got to be between Shaman and Necro as far as number 2. And yeah, if you have a unlimited plat, if you have another character and you're just looking for the best solo class and you have as much money as you can spend, maybe Shaman's the answer. But I think I'm gonna make it maybe a tie. I don't know, man. It depends how we think about it. Do we have unlimited plat and we can like give whatever we want to the character, or are they completely naked? I think if you have unlimited plat, Shaman's the second best soloer in the game. If you have 0 plat, Necro probably edges it out. I don't know. Every time I was using my Shaman in fighting, like I always felt like, yes, I can beat this single target thing and I can solo it and kill it, but it feels like such a slog and so slow. And maybe I was doing it wrong. I'm only level 54. I'm not 60 yet. But I feel like you need torpor. I feel like you need certain clickies. You need certain gear to actually be that second best soloer in the entire game. So I don't know. It's up for debate. It's probably Shaman's the answer, but it could be Necro too. So let's talk about Necro for a minute. Necro with their fear kiting, Necro with their specter pet. Necro can charm as well, charm undead. So it probably depends on where you're at. If you're in an outdoor zone soloing, Necro is pretty awesome. You can fear kite and take on almost anything that can be feared and snared and everything like that. If you're in an undead zone where there's lots of undead, like Howling Stones or, you know, wherever. If you're in an undead zone, they're pretty much just like an Enchanter. Not as good, but they can kind of operate like an Enchanter in an undead zone. So they're Enchanter light, and in certain dungeons, they're very close to being like an Enchanter, because they can charm undead and have them fight each other, and it's exactly the same thing, pretty much. And they have Lich, which I think is the best mana generation in the entire game. It's better than, in my opinion, it's better than Cannibalize. It's better than like Breeze and Clarity. But I don't know. Maybe some people have different opinions. Maybe with Theft of Thought and like the highest Clarity, maybe you think Enchanter's better. Maybe Cannibalize, the highest level Cannibalize with something else. Maybe that's better. But to me, Lich always felt the strongest. Like I only have Breeze right now, but I had Clarity back in the day on my Enchanter, and I had Cannibalize with the macro and everything, and I Canny Dance and all that. Lich was my favorite. It felt like it was the easiest to get my mana back the fastest. Like if I needed, if I was in a jam, I could lock something down. I could steal their HP Lich, and I could just get myself out of certain situations easy and like continue fighting and killing instead of like feigning death or gating. I felt like with my Necro, I could Lich myself out of situations, like bad situations. I could get that mana. I could bring that mana from out of my butt, out of nowhere, way more often than like with the shaman. With the shaman, if you're in trouble, you can't candy dance your way out of a bad situation. As a necro, you can kind of like lich your way out of a bad situation sometimes and get yourself just enough mana to finish up the fight or whatever. So necro, very good outdoors, very good with the undead dungeons. Not as good as enchanter, I guess, but in my experience playing a necro to 60 and playing a shaman to 54, I always felt safer and faster on the necro. But I see the potential in the shaman, so don't get me wrong. I just think you need to have tons of plat and tons of good gear and clickies and just the best spells to make shaman overtake the necromancer. All right, number 4 would probably be what, the bard, most likely. Bard has all the stuff that an enchanter has, pretty much. It's just you know, in a slightly weaker fashion. Maybe some people would disagree. I'm not the biggest guy with the bard. I've never had a high-level bard. This is just my experience watching other people. Like, I don't see bards in Plane of Hate soloing. I don't see bards in, like, Shardock soloing. Maybe they are, and I just haven't seen it. I don't see them in Howling Stones, like, soloing. I don't see them killing cliff golems. Like, if they are, let me know, right? Let me know. But they are good up to a point. Like, maybe up to 50. They swarm kite. So they're really good at soloing, like, leveling fast. Like, if we had to take an enchanter, a shaman, a necro, and a bard, and see who could get to 60 the fastest, the bard might win. So then, does that make the bard the best solo class in the entire game? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about high-value targets? Are we talking about dungeon crawling, working our way through a dungeon? Or are we just talking about leveling and, like, the fastest leveler? Because the bard would probably win that, the fastest leveler. They would just swarm kite everything. And then they could charm fight some stuff. They could join up in a group. Like, they're really good. Everybody wants a bard. And then bards can solo, too. So, necro, that's one of their downfalls. Like, people don't really want necros in a group. Even though if you have a good necro that knows how to group, they are pretty good in a group. But nobody's like, if they had their choice, we got an enchanter here, we got a bard here, you know, we got a shaman there, and we have a necro. Who are they gonna pick? But we're not talking about grouping right now. We're talking about soloing. But it's just another thing to mention. If you're picking bard, you can solo. You could probably level the fastest out of anything, and you can join up and group whenever you want to. Necro, you really don't have that. You can solo really good and really safely, and it feels fast, and it's fun, and you have a specter pet and a skeleton pet, and you can charm just like an enchanter. You can feign death. You can fear kite. You have lich. It's really fun. But you're probably not going to be getting into, like, crazy good groups, unless the group is smart and they know, like, a necro can really help and feed them HP and mana. But it is what it is. I think with a bard or an enchanter, you also have that option. Just as an aside, as a little notation on the best solo class in the game, like being able to group is like a little thing you could say on the side as like a tiebreaker. But we're not talking about grouping. So bards, they can charm, they can mez, they have mana generation, they have HP regeneration, they can swarm kite. Everybody likes a bard, and they're probably the fastest out of these that could solo to 60. And then as far as number 5 goes, I don't even know. Like, what would be the 5th best soloer in the game? Well, you guys let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think of this video. Remember, this is just my opinion. This isn't like me saying definitively that these are definitely the best and this is definitely the order. You could put them in a different order. Like, is Wizard the best soloer in the game? Probably not. Is Warrior? Probably not. Shaman's up there. Shadow Knight has potential, but I don't know. Rogue? Definitely not. Ranger? Probably not. Paladin? I don't think so. Monk? Maybe. Magician? Maybe. Druid is probably in the conversation. Am I missing anything? Don't think we're missing anything, right? Is that it? I think they're all there. They're just grayed out if we can't be them. So, yeah. I would say number 5, in my opinion, has gotta be... Man. I feel like a Shadow Knight could solo pretty good once they get all their tools. I think monks are out there soloing more than anything else that I've mentioned so far. But usually it's like the same thing as the shaman, where they have tons of really good gear and clickies and stuff. So you'd have to talk about that again. I think naked, maybe a druid would be the way to go. or maybe a magician. But I don't know, man. It's probably between like druid, magician, and monk, and shadow knight as number 5. You guys are going to put that one in the comments for me. If I had to pick, I'd probably say druid. I don't think you're going into a dungeon and soloing with any of these. Maybe the monk or the magician if you have really good gear on the monk, or you're a really, really good magician, potentially. If you're outdoors, you're probably doing druid while you solo. And then, like, Shadow Knight is probably decent as well, like, outdoors. But if you get stuck deep in a dungeon, you're probably not making it out of there. You're probably feign deathing as a Shadow Knight. So I don't know, man. Probably monk or magician is what I'm now thinking. I can't decide. A really, really well-geared monk could probably solo some good stuff. A magician that knows what they're doing is probably pretty good at soloing. They just don't really have any kind of, like, crowd control. I think a druid, they can snare, they can kite, like outdoors. But they can charm. They could charm animal too. So, man, you just think about charm. Whenever you think about soloing, you kind of think about charm. Think about everything I've talked about so far. They can all kind of charm. I think the shaman can kind of charm. And that's kind of the thing. You're taking something that's way stronger and making it fight something that's also way stronger. And it's way better than, like, you trying to use your spells to kill it or you using your pet to kill it. Like, using the actual super strong enemies to fight each other. Like, Druid has animal charm. I mean, Ranger, I don't know. You guys let me know what the 5th one is. I can't decide. I want to see it in the comments, though. Your top 5 best solo classes in the game. Let me know your criteria, though. Are you thinking, like, the fastest to level solo? Are you thinking, like, the fastest to take out, like, expensive, high, like, high plat targets? Are you thinking about going to super dangerous areas like Plane of Hate or Plane of Mischief or, like, Shardock or something? Is that what you're thinking about when you're thinking about soloing? Are you thinking about safety, like a necro, where you can you like aren't gonna die, but you can attempt to solo things without so much fear? Are we talking about shaman, who needs like tons of awesome gear and torpor and very expensive spells before they can actually be talked about in the top 2, top 3? Yeah. I'm sure I'm going to get some negative comments on this one, on my opinion of this, but that is my opinion. I think Enchanter's the best, followed by super rich shaman, maybe, closely followed by a naked necro, and then I would go with bard, and then after that, I really can't decide for number 5. I think either maybe a monk, like a super geared monk, or shadow knight. I can't decide, though, man. Druid, magician. Maybe take the druid off the table. It has to be like a super duper geared out shadow knight or monk. Would be number 5. Which, once again, is it your first character? You probably shouldn't do that. If we're talking about soloing and it's your first character, I'm thinking Enchanter or Necro. If you have tons and tons of plat and you just want to know, like, what's the best solo class to invest into, then we're talking about Shaman, Monk, stuff like that. But that's my opinion. I hope you liked the video. I'll try to do more videos like this in the future. Sorry there's not, like, editing of a bunch of different classes running around soloing. I wish I could do that, but maybe one day when we have the budget for it and an editor and we get bigger and stuff, maybe I'll do that. Like, share, subscribe. Consider joining. It helps a lot. Tell your guild about the channel. Comment below. Let's take a look at Sinnycool as we go. And I'll see y'all next time. Definitely put comments down there, man. I want to know your top 5 best solo classes in EverQuest, specifically, mostly P99 or back in the day, or, that kind of stuff. If you're talking about like now with a billion expansions out and a whole different ball game, I'm really not trying to hear it. If we're talking about P99, green, blue, something around that type, classic kind of stuff, that's what I'm trying to hear, like what the best solo class is for that kind of stuff. Not the new stuff, not EverQuest 2, not with 50 billion expansions out. The stuff I play would be what I would prefer to hear, like what you think is the best solo class. But for me, it's Enchanter, then like a super duper rich Shaman, then Necro, then Bard, and then it's a debate for number 5, and I need your opinion in the comments. Peace out.